it's very evident that you've kind of amassed a lot of experience that now you're doing this.
It's so in such
You're like
a
Liam
random
Neeson.
way.
Yeah. In Taken, where he's just like, don't make me. I'm coming for you.
I will find you.
But like a charity.
Yeah.
I will help you.
I'll be the Liam Neeson of Doylestown and Bucks County Charities.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want that idea, you can have that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bucks County. All right, this is the No Prisoners Podcast. I am Andrew. This is Gilmar. If you don't know us, we're Bucks County's #1 investigative journalists.
Here right now.
It's official. We have Keith Fenimore here from a local charity that's recently changed the name. So we're going by, it was originally Pine to Pink.
It was.
And now you're Main Street.
On Main Street.
You are Main Street.
Well,
welcome.
yeah, thanks. I run Main Street,
Okay.
but I make a very conscious effort to make sure people know that it's not about me.
Got you.
It's about the community. It's about the people that support us. It's about the work we do. And I sometimes have to be the face of it, which is okay. My wife doesn't like being interviewed. You know, she doesn't like giving speeches. She's the other part. My mom's involved. It's a family-run nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did I guess take us to the backstory? How did you get started with this, now formidable charity?
Yeah. Without ever having done a charity before in my life,
Yeah.
or really knowing I was going to do a charity. So it starts 2018, quasi-selfishly, because I was struggling a bit with purpose. I needed a creative outlet, and I didn't necessarily know how to channel that.
Okay.
And so I said to myself, I've never really done anything substantial for the greater good. I grew up in this community. I love it. I grew up in New Hope, the rough and tumble streets of New Hope. And now I live in Doylestown. Spent 16 years in LA, 5 in Manhattan, came back to Doylestown. And I wanted to do something for the greater good. I didn't know what it was. My mom's a breast cancer survivor. I lost my grandmother to breast cancer. So I never got to meet her because of it. So I said, okay, I'm going to take the things that bother me about fundraising and charities, like a percentage of what you raise going to the people who need it versus 100%. The ethereal nature of writing a check and going, I have no idea where this is going, who it's helping, when it's helping, how it's helping. I want to be very, upfront and let people know this is what you gave and this is what we bought. This is what you donated and these are the programs we started. So I was just trying to fix those things. Also, nothing against a ribbon around a pole, but it's kind of antiquated. You know what I mean? And what's the call to action? Where am I going with that? So I wanted to do something visceral and experience-based and get people involved in a super meaningful way. And the other thing I wanted to do when I set out to do this is I wanted to incorporate local businesses and kind of start this circle of life, I call it, where I can kind of create footfall for them by having them participate with us. And they sell something or do something that helps the charity, but also helps their business. And then they get new customers and new eyeballs, and around we go. So everyone is winning in that scenario. And so I said, if I could do that on some small level, then that would be fantastic. So, I started putting the pieces together of what this might be and what it would look like, not knowing whether I would raise $1, right?
Yeah.
And not following a model or a syllabus. This was something that, I like to sort of push the envelope. I like to do different things. I like to challenge myself. I like to have a conversation with someone where they go, well, we've never done that before. And it's like, all right, well, now we're going to do it, and this is how. And so the first conversation was with John Davis, the manager of Doylestown, and I said, can we change all the street lights pink? And he laughed and said, how? And I had the idea of how to do it using film gel and putting it around the lights. And he agreed to 75 lights, which is great, and we still do today. And so that was my first hurdle. So now I turned the town pink. Then the museums jumped on board. Then the stores started buying pink light bulbs. And, Doylestown was visceral. It was pink. You got this hug when you walk down the street. My dad came up with the concept of getting people to sell things for an eat, drink, and shop pink for the month of October. And so we got a bunch of partners involved that are local businesses. And, nowadays I have 130, we're in 7 towns, not one. We changed thousands of lights, not 75. We've raised almost $700,000. We created an app that's an augmented reality app where we hide our logo virtually in 100 locations around Bucks County. And people find it through the app and they capture it like Pokemon Go. And it gets people in the stores. And it's just a free app. It's a way to get communities and families involved in a unique and meaningful way. We do events, and the events, last night I just did a wine pairing event at Ardena. Mike Christou owns Ardena, and he paid for everything and gave us 100% of what we, of the night's take to the charity, which is brilliant. And that's a great event. But then the flip side of that, the offshoot or dichotomy of a wine pairing would be a concept that's coming up on Mischief Night on October 30th, and it's TP My House.
Okay.
And so I was mowing my lawn, had this idea for, wouldn't it be great if kids and families can come and trash my property? How could I monetize that? And then I said, well, if I charge them $5 per roll and they brought their own TP, BYOTP, you can come to my house, and on Mischief Night, you can toilet paper my house. And so the first year we did it, raised like $1,500. I got School of Rock to play in my driveway for 3 hours. I got Spuddy Buddy Fry Truck to come down and sell French fries. The police were there. I said, don't call the cops. They'll already be here. And the police were here, and we just toilet papered the property, and it was ridiculous, and it was fun, but it was unique and different, and it got people talking. And so those are the things that I try to do.
Did you grow up in Bucks County or in and around?
I grew up in New Hope.
New Hope.
Yeah, I grew up in New Hope. Went to New Hope Solebury High School.
Do you own your own business, or where do you get this? You have like an entrepreneurial look on creating buzz.
That's it. Well, my career has been spent getting people to pay attention and turn their heads, and also creating something from nothing. Okay. That's what I'm good at, And so I package things, and packaging in the entertainment business, which I was in for a while, is just finding all the elements you need to make it so. And so that's what I lean on as my skill, and also that interpersonal connection that you can have with people, and finding out what their pain points are and what drives them, and then helping them find a solution for that. So I don't ever come in and say, I'm Main Street. This is what you'll do. This is how you'll do it. This is plug and play. Here's the folder. Now do this. I say, on Main Street, this is the money that we raise money for local breast cancer patients in treatment and recovery. And we've helped over 2,000 people so far. You're a business that sells candles. How do you want to get involved? That works for you. What do you want to come up with? How does that look? And we kind of balance it, and we come up with something that works for them. And I think that sort of ability to morph into what benefits us and helps the end goal and the mission, but then also can help a local business person, that's what makes us different, and that's what makes us strong.
Where do you see, because unfortunately we caught you towards like the end of, I guess your biggest month of the year. Where do you see like the next big moves for your charity or your organization? Because going from 75 lights to 1,000, probably a couple thousand, you said, like things like that, just they take time, but you can appreciate them backwards. So like, what are you looking forward into the future towards?
Well, like this year, for instance, 2 things are new. We expanded to Yardley, so we're in Yardley now, which is cool. On a small level, we'll grow that year over year, and we also are now also giving money to St. Mary Trinity, so they're a beneficiary of ours. So last year, during the month of October, we raised $138,000, and we were able to dole that money out to Grandview, to Fox Chase Buckingham, to Doylestown Health, and the Kim Wellness and Sports Center. And now we've added Trinity. So I now have expectations, and I have to live up to that fundraising, and I have to find that money and raise it so I can keep the programs that we've started alive. And the programs are, when I first started, it would be, wouldn't this be cool? How about I do this? Now I have people relying on me. It's a little bit of a different beast. Mm-hmm. And we do pretty impactful programs. Like we pay for cold capping. So when somebody's going through chemo, they don't have to lose their hair. They can use this cold capping process to help retain about 85% of the hair. We do treatment transportation to get them to and from appointments. We do home food delivery at post-op and when they need food delivered. We pay for integrative services. We pay out-of-pocket expenses. So you have a massive medical bill, but you can't pay your rent. We'll come in and pay your rent. And so the programs that we have, I got to keep those coffers filled every year so we can continue doing all of those things.
What do you raise across like an entire year? Or obviously you're growing year after year. What did you raise this year, and what do you think you'll raise this year or last year and then this year?
For Main Street, and let me, because I'm getting into the second part of the story. You kind of said like, what's next? And I've already dove very deeply into what is next. And it's and I'm paralleling my life between these two things. So I've quit my day job at this point. This is now 2 years ago, and I focus just on my nonprofits. And I have one nonprofit with 2 organizations under it. So Main Street is dedicated to breast cancer patients and runs in October. And it's just a fundraising platform where I empower the community to raise money, and I organize everything, and then that money goes to local breast cancer patients. And everything I raise stays local to Bucks, and I give 100% of what I raise away. So I have sponsorships that pay my hard costs. And so when October 1st hits to the 31st, every dollar I raise goes to where it needs to go. So I was doing that, and I had at the time, I was in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, I was doing Main Street, and I had a day job, and I had a family. And a woman by the name of Corinne Sikora, who was battling brain cancer at the time, she had this idea for this all-inclusive holistic wellness and support center. And she said, wouldn't it be great if there was a free place for Bucks County patients and their caregivers to go and get the help they need, the holistic, integrative help they need? She ended up passing away. And she was a local gal, beloved. The whole family is.
What was her name?
Corinne Sikora. And she was right here in the borough with her family. She worked in the CB school system. She was tremendous, and I feel very robbed because I never got the chance to meet her. I feel like I know her real well, but I haven't got the chance to meet her.
Because you guys started interacting.
Well, I didn't interact. This is the thing. I didn't interact with her at all. She told this idea for this integrative service to her friend Alyssa, and before she passed away, she said, can you get this to the guy that runs Main Street and see if he can make it a reality? And
Damn.
And I got that on Facebook in a DM. So a stranger told a stranger that emailed me on Facebook. And I tell the story like, I started responding back to Alyssa saying, if I were you, because I didn't have the bandwidth to try to do this. So I was like, if I were you, I would. And as I wrote it, I realized to myself that I'm sort of sending a dead-end email. The likelihood of someone going off of what I suggest and making it a reality is probably not going to happen.
In what aspect? Like, what do you?
There wasn't really a syllabus for it. The people that probably would get a hold of whatever it was, I would say it's probably like they'd be doing it as a side project. You know what I mean? Like I just felt like I feel I can intimately. I feel pretty. You know, I feel like I can take a concept and see it through the fruition, and I just don't know that there's. I think a lot of people just don't realize what's involved to pull off something like this. So either way, I felt like there was a chance that it wouldn't see the light of day. So I said to my wife, what if we wrote a press release? And I forecasted what the budget would be to get the thing going. And I asked the community for the money. And if they give us the money, then we'll try to do it. We'll try to build this place. So I put a press release out February of 2021. By July, I had $200,000. August, I found the location. September, we started renovation. And December 8th, 2021, we onboarded our first guest. So in 10 months, we went from a computer screen of an idea that was outlined by Corinne to standing in the center. And now we've onboarded over 500 cancer patients there.
And what's the center called?
It's called Kin Wellness and Support Center. So Main Street opened the portal to Kin, and now my dedication is to Kin and to Main Street and to helping as many people as I possibly can. So, you know, my original quest, like to find purpose. I mean, now
Your cup's full.
Look at my life, man.
Yeah.
Every conversation I have, every email, every text, anyone I ever talk to, the back end of a conversation more than likely is going to end up helping somebody. I could not imagine something more fulfilling than that, you know.
Yeah.
So we're doing Kin and Main Street. So then when I look at my whole portfolio there of nonprofits and where we are and what we want to do, you know, I say, how can we expand it and how can we help more people? And, you know, a lot of it comes down to, for Main Street, the answer would be a title sponsor, a significant sponsor that, you know, my thought was, if I'm changing everything pink, you know, a company that makes light bulbs, you know what I mean, that could provide the free light bulbs to every town we go in and do the underwriting costs for what it costs for me to run Main Street, and give me a staff to help do that, would help expand it and extrapolate over small towns, because it's a small town endeavor, and I would want it to stay small town. And every small town would be local for local. So if you raised in Chickahominy, Tennessee, it would stay in Chickahominy, Tennessee. But right,
Chickahominy,
yeah,
Tennessee.
man, Chickahominy.
Damn, that's a drop.
That is, yeah.
Pull that up and see if it's a real place, Gilmar.
Chickahominy, Tennessee. So yeah, that, you know, that would be a title sponsorship. That would be money, because right now I'm bare bones. You know, it's my family and volunteers that mean well and help out quite a bit, but they're not paid employees, so you can't lean on them all that much all the time.
How do you stay a small giant? Like, how do you remain?
It's interesting.
This, because, you know, we try to stay quite charitable through our business, and I've gotten to know how to donate kind of money in the right way, I guess, with the lack of better way of saying it. There are charities that give all your money that you're giving to the process.
All right.
And then there are charities that have staff and costs and hard costs, like you talked about. Like,
right.
How do you stay this small charity that, you know, 99% of the money is going directly towards the cause, whereas like some of these other charities with nothing, they're still helping a ton of people, but how do you stay money going out the door and 100% going to the customer, or not the customer, to the person in need, versus having a huge staff and payroll and insurance, and then you have a huge building you got to rent to keep everybody in, and next thing you know, you're paying for parking spots, and it's just like how do you see that staying small?
It's hard, and there's staying small, and then there's doing good work that impacts a lot of people, and there's this balance between the two. And I think there's a stigma with nonprofits that, you know, where you know, people will look at a massive behemoth and be like, you know, they're not giving everything to the cause, but in order for them to grow and help more people, they have to kind of you know, splinter the funds, and they
well, yeah, of course. If you want to grow by 100 million, then you have to give up half to hit that many people. There's still, that's why I was saying, they're still helping a ton of people, just a different model.
It's just a different model.
And much of what, like, from our investigating, it seems like a lot of what your strategy is rooted in this. It's a small mom and pop operation, and the money is going all to the people that need it. And I see that as like a great selling point. So that's why I was asking. Like,
it is.
With your type of brain, I see like the growth, and at a certain point, like there being a conflict.
Well, it's like, I guess another way of putting it is like, if I could, title sponsors, to me, those are the people, that's who I want to squeeze. I want the money to come from a title sponsor, and I want them to cover all hard costs and all expansion and all that. The money I raise through the community, I want that money to go toward helping people. So if I can say that I have a $245,000 a year operating budget, and it's all the blocking and tackling stuff, and it's all of that, and I can get, you know, a company to put their name on it and cover all of those costs, so that when I go out and fundraise and Joe gives me a check for $85, then Joe's $85 check goes to where it needs to go, because I have everything already covered. It's sort of the same model that I'm using now, which is, you know, I have corporate sponsors to the tune of probably 65 that have helped me cover all the hard costs, and then whatever's left over from the hard costs, that money goes toward the patient, and then everything I collect throughout the month, 100% of that goes to the patients. So there's no reason why I can't scale and utilize that same model. And the reality too is I can never put my pen down. I'm never done. There's always something else I can be doing. I mean, and we're so small in support staff that it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to do what I do.
Yeah,
it's gratifying, but it is. You can burn out.
Yeah, you got to keep rolling the rock uphill.
Yeah, you're never like doing that jump up in the air like you made it. Even with Kin, so Kin's built, right? It's a 5,000 square foot center that we have, and we have 48 practitioners and instructors who volunteer their time there, and we have we're doing amazing things. But I still get calls from, and we're strictly in Bucks County, right? And we help Bucks County patients. So I get calls from Montgomery County weekly. I have cancer. I wanted to come to your center. Can you help me? I can't. I'm hyper local to Bucks County. Do you have a center in Montgomery? I do not. Do you plan on having one? Maybe one day. So, when I look at that, I say, well, yeah, why not have a Montgomeryville, or Montgomery County location?
Yeah, when you get an idea like that, does it weigh on you until you accomplish it, or you fill it with something else, like
No.
another thing?
I won't get sidetracked from it. I get laser focused on it. Now, as I got older, I'm patient, and I'm very strategic, and I'm tactical. And so, I credit myself because back in the day, I was a wild man, and I would be the bulldozer, and I would be going until, and that's not always the right approach. And so I will say, I won't sit here today and say by 2026 we're going to have the center. I'll just say at some point there will be another location, and I'm very certain of that. If I can do, with the help of my wife and my mom and our volunteers, if we can do what we've done already, I do feel like there's no limits to where we go. It's just about, I listen to a lot of people, and I find out what the needs are, and then I do my best to fulfill the needs.
How do you, so that was actually going to be my next question, is how do you intake feedback or input to direct the future of this endeavor? Or is this kind of like your vision and you're just like picking up information at like a magnet as you're going out in the world? Because you're probably rubbing shoulders with a ton of people even every day just on the phone, and so you're probably picking up just feedback out in the world.
It's constant. Yeah. And I will do that. Like, I'll pivot. I'll be malleable. I'm not saying this is it. This is the way we're doing it. This is how we're doing it. And I'm not that guy. I can say, like, I've got a very clear vision of what I'd like to do and a pretty clear vision of how to get there. But I am going to, when I meet someone who I respect and who's been down the road and who has some ideas, and I listen, and I listen to everybody. I mean, I'm on this side of it. And my patients are on the other side of it, and the people that we look after, I got a lot of great thoughts from them, and because of that, like, for instance, Kin's become much more peer-to-peer. It's not clinical and it's not medical, but you would think that having practitioners and instructors giving acupuncture and Reiki and reflexology and sound baths and yoga and counseling and therapy and all those things that we offer, and it's robust. I mean, I even built a labyrinth. Like, we have a lot that we offer. What we've learned is that people want to be the peer-to-peer aspect of our center, how it's become a clubhouse and how it's like-minded people. That community, that is almost more powerful than anything. So when they come to me and say, can we start a peer-to-peer support group? My fun rule is, like, so long as it's not illegal and no one gets hurt, we're going to try it. Yeah. And that's what I do, and so now there's a lot of peer-to-peer engagement, and that wasn't necessarily something I was thinking of at the beginning, but I listened.
Like in touching on that, what peer-to-peer idea or what kind of event or club or whatever has happened that has most impressed you that you really didn't get involved with, but more kind of spawned out of, like say you built the facility and now you have somebody else that was like, I want to run, this club. Like, has any of those clubs or events come out of there that you've been like really like, wow, like that's a great idea, or kind of just impressed by people?
Yeah, I'm impressed by people all the time. I mean, we've started a peer-to-peer, or they've started a peer-to-peer grief group, and so they've run that for people who have lost someone, a loved one, and I go to Organins, who donates all of our food to the center, and I'll get snacks, and I'll put the snacks up on the counter and in the fridge, and they have the key code, and they go in and they run that grief. I have nothing to do with it, and you see, then you'll be scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or something, and you'll see the group of people that all met at Kin, and all of a sudden they're all hanging out watching Super Bowl together, and you're like, come on, that sort of connect the dots for me. That's the stuff that makes my hair stand up in the back of my neck.
Yeah, because there could be people that found like lifelong friendships because of just, not just, but the avenue you created for that to, happen.
And they'll say, like, I don't know what I would do without either Main Street or without this program or without being able to go through, like, there was a woman that went through cold capping. Her mother had dementia, and she didn't want her mom to know that she was going through breast cancer, and she did cold capping to retain her hair so her mom didn't have to know who was in the home. She tells me that story, and she gives me a picture book of her going through chemo and the process with the cold capping. And then I hear that, and that's one of those things that take me out of the scenario, and I'm able to bring her in. And when I do an event, I don't have to sit there and talk for 40 minutes. I just introduced her and let her tell her story, and it's much more impactful than anything I could ever do. I think for someone in my position, there's a lot of knowing when to get out of the way.
Yeah, it seems like you would be considered a facilitator of sorts.
That's great. Yeah, I am a facilitator. It's my job to make sure. I've got to keep money coming in, because without the money, I don't have the center. I can't help anybody. I don't have the program. So it's like I'm the community liaison. I'm the fundraiser. I'm the marketer. I tend to cheerlead a lot. I tend to motivate. I tend to get people excited about things. That's just my nature. I'll always do that. But yeah, the facilitation part has come really to the forefront, and is a big part of what we do.
Why the transition from Pine to Pink to Main Street?
Main Street. Well, I was kind of trapped with that moniker, and there wasn't too much play I could have with it. I thought it was kitschy, and I thought it got people talking, and it was great to launch with. So in marketing, for me, it was a conversation starter and an interesting name, and it allowed us to kind of get out in the public in an interesting way. A lot of people were like, what does that mean? I don't understand. I don't get it. There was a lot of like answering questions to that sort of thing. And I eventually kind of felt like I outgrew the name a bit, and I knew if I got too embedded with it for too long, I could never change it.
Okay.
And so I was 5 years in, and I said, and I also had this idea, it's a hug, right? That's my logo now. And a hug is not something you can do alone. And going through what these people are going through is not something that I want them to do alone. So they won't, because we're here. And we couldn't do what we do without the community. So we need them. So this hug was kind of in the back of my mind floating for a while. And I said, how can we kind of play into that? I didn't like Main Street as a name to sort of personify small town America. Everyone has a Main Street. And so the idea was that I would be able to combine those two things, and I did. And I got flack for it. And people told me, what are you doing? You're taking a known entity and you're starting over. And I'm like, a name is just a name. The work's there. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's so many relationships, and I've been through several processes like where businesses like change names, and it's kind of scary the first time around, but you realize the name is just a branding tool in a way. It's all the relationships and the people that actually know you doing business that, as long as they know you changed the name, eventually it just kind of nobody even remembers.
And when you first start something like this, it's who are you? How can we trust you? What have you done before? There's so many questions from so many people. And then once you kind of get established a bit, then it's like, okay, we know this family, we know this nonprofit, we see what they've done. And that's a big part of my transparency with everything. It's like, if I bought, which I did, like $34,000 worth of infusion chairs for the Doylestown Cancer Center, I will then take pictures of those chairs and promote it on the website and on social media and say, this is how much it cost, this is what we did, and this is the impact we're making. And I constantly do that sort of thing. And I think
you're showing the community the action.
Yeah, it grounds everything, and it takes that, it takes sort of that worry away, and it allows more people to sort of be open to writing a check when maybe they never have.
When you come up with an idea like this that impacts people, have you ever run into someone that kind of got possessive over the charity because they wanted it to go a certain way? Like, how do you handle involving other people in growing it and not losing the core values or the direction? Because you really got to keep the train heading in one direction. And when you get charities like this together, everybody has great ideas, and everybody wants to go this way and that way and that way. How do you prevent the train from leaving the rails?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting managing that, but I'm very protective of it in that regard, and I make sure the people I collaborate with, I vet. You know what I mean? And I have a clear vision of who we are and who we need to remain, and our core mission, and no one's going to really be able to derail that. Because everything stems from I've kept the group small. I don't have a board of 12 people with different agendas. I have a really small board. And at the end of the day, if someone has an idea and it's just not right, I'm very frank and direct. That's the thing. Nobody will ever leave a meeting or a conversation with me and be like, I'm not sure where he stood on that. Almost to a fault. I'll be like, look, I appreciate what you're saying. I get it. And I know your passion behind it. Even when it comes to, I had a guy with Pine to Pink, which was Main Street, say, why don't you do something for prostate cancer or whatever, blue. And I said, you know what? This obviously sounds like something that is very important to you and very passionate. I started a nonprofit because I was very passionate about something, and we've been able to make a pretty good impact here. Maybe you should look into starting a nonprofit and doing just what you said. And so I will redirect that to the person and encourage them to try to make an impact on their own if it's not something that fits. Because I'm not going to change our mission, really for any reason.
Are there any types of people or businesses, and you don't have to highlight industries or anything, that you wouldn't take donations from? Say for instance, first one that comes to mind is a cartel boss, but I'm thinking maybe, how about a strip club? If strip club wanted to be one of your poster, and that's just an idea of because when you're trying to run your charity in a certain direction, do you find that the people you're taking money with, their culture has to align with your culture, or can you take money from other organizations and because you're making good with the money, it doesn't really matter?
No, I mean, I would say that I wouldn't be able to do that sort of thing. Not that I even wouldn't be able to, because I would be able to, but I wouldn't want to.
So Hooters calls you up and says, we'll give you your hard costs for the next 5 years.
Yeah, then that's probably not a fit for what we're doing, even if they're well intended. Because you got to remember, through any corporation and any collaboration, the bottom line for them is the bottom line. They want to somehow use your reputation or your exposure to benefit themselves.
So you think about that when you're partnering,
And I'm
like
okay
that?
with it when it's, I go into all this stuff eyes wide open. I'm like, look, if you want to sell cupcakes for us in order to help your business, get a rise, and then that benefits you, and we still can get some money out of that, that's what we're for. That's great. You use me, I'll use you. We go in together, and at the end of the day, someone's helped. Now, that's with a cupcake company. You know what I mean? But I couldn't very easily.
I was going to say, Hooters doesn't have cupcakes.
Yeah, right.
They got wings. You can sell pink wings.
Yeah, you can get pink lemonade at Hooters this month.
If Hooters had cupcakes, it would be a different conversation. No, yeah. So yeah. I mean, I also have to feel comfortable standing behind it and feel good about myself. I'm a community guy. I'm a father. And to be quite frank, I don't need it. I'd rather hold true to my principles and remain sort of at the level where I am right now than blow up for the wrong reason. It's just not going to happen. I'm way too secure in myself, and I've put way too much of my life and myself into this to give it up for anybody.
So there's no Susie's Lounge donation coming down the pipeline.
Hey, I mean,
If you want a good laugh, go and read the Google reviews on that.
well, you know what I will say though, like if it's a legitimate company
Yeah.
that isn't looking for any exposure and wants to make an anonymous donation, I mean, and so
Oh yeah, okay. So
that's
anonymous
fine.
donations from cartel bosses. Well,
No, but I said illegal.
yeah. Well, they probably have legitimate businesses in there somewhere.
Yeah, some car washes.
Yeah, I was gonna say an auto body shop.
Yeah,
right?
they got something going
Yeah,
on.
do free detail service.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a.
I'm not sure how you guys took this conversation the way you just did, but
That's what happens here.
That's the No Prisoners
Yeah, that's what happens
podcast.
here.
People listen for a reason. Yeah, we try and keep we keep it light. I mean, there's a lot of serious conversations to be had, and sometimes
Sure.
it's easier to have serious conversations when you can kind of keep it a little flexible.
well, I mean, even I deal with life and death. That's just the reality of it. But I also come at it from a point of I try to keep things light. I try to make jokes with people. I try to make people smile. We try not to be bleak. We try to be comforting, and it's a hard balance.
Yeah, that probably is something that it can be a little bit of a burden, though, when you're carrying. You seem like you're carrying the weight of like a lot of different worlds on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Like you're running a nonprofit, but a nonprofit is just an IRS way saying of just like a business that pays taxes differently. Like you're essentially running an operation.
We're running a
And
business.
You're
sure.
running it's the same principles are applying.
Right.
It's just
Our proceeds go to help.
A different goal.
Right.
So do you ever find yourself struggling, like separating like the emotional aspect of the service you provide? Because Gilmar creates content, I build nice houses, and that gets really stressful. But at the end of the day, it's, a different set of circumstances than when you're talking to people about their loved ones and how they're, or someone that's going through, the process of treating cancer.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage those hats?
And that's, I'm not classically trained in it. So I'm sort of like a regular guy that is doing something now that I never thought I'd be doing. And that aspect of it is hard. It's hard to just flip the switch. It's hard to not be emotionally attached to what you're doing. And I would say that I haven't quite figured it out just yet, because I am. I think it motivates me in a way. It makes me a stronger person. I've kind of changed over the last 6-7 years for sure, but it doesn't make it any easier. And there will be times where if it hits me, and I'm talking, if I'm at an event and I start bringing up something that's emotional, I'll cry, I'll lose it. And I'll regain composure, and I'll be like, I'm sorry, and off I go. But it's very real, and but that I'd rather sort of for me, I'd rather go through the pitfalls of this emotional roller coaster and still be able to, check the box and say, were you a good person, and did you help a lot of people along the ride? And I could say, damn straight I did, and deal with the hard parts.
Do you believe in miracles?
And do I believe in miracles? I believe that, there's people with great faith. There's people with great family. There's people with great friends, and that people can be miraculous. And I've seen it. I've seen selfless acts to the point where you could fill this room. And to me, that's a miracle.
What do you think in the whole process of treating cancer? What do you think is the most impactful part? Is it the community, like surrounding yourself with like the good vibes, or family? Like what is the most critical that you guys focus on, or from your vantage point of, because you're firing a lot of shots down range, so like you're going to get information, and like there's got to be something that stands out to you that you be like, when someone calls you and says, hey, I just found out I had cancer, you're like, you got to think about this.
It's different for everybody. That's what I've learned. The person that, some people just need a hug. Someone just needs to know that they're not alone and they're scared. Someone needs to talk to someone who just had the surgery that they're about to have in a month, and they can kind of prep them. Some people need the integrative stuff because they're dealing with pain, or they're dealing with, a lot of things that we do at Kin is we have a lot of services that help get people centered and just get them in the right headspace to be able to tackle what they're tackling. And they feel like they couldn't proceed without the integrative side of things. So that emotional, that physical, that social, that communal aspect, for each individual person, it is different. There's someone that will tell me, I will never sit in a peer-to-peer group because I have no desire to do that. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be, I just want to go do my acupuncture and I'm going to take off. And then there's someone else that will never miss a meeting because that's their world. So, that's what I've learned, is that there isn't the answer.
So you guys provide all of it.
Yeah,
it sounds like you guys have like a one-stop shop for the support outside of whatever, hospital treatment.
That's
I
right.
guess, yeah.
There's nothing medical in our center. So we have, we built a meditative garden, Indigenous Ingenuities built a meditative garden for us.
Shout out to those guys. They have like one of the coolest names.
Yeah,
and
it's
one of their logos they just changed is really sweet. I see their trucks around.
Yeah, it's hard to spell sometimes, but thank God for autocorrect. And the woman by the name of Gina Alvarez does their marketing and helped them with that logo and their branding, and also helped us with Kin.
Oh yeah, that's a small world. Yeah, well, shout out to that lady then, because I noticed that I saw one of their trucks or something got rewrapped or something. Yeah, that's kind of like a cool vibe. But anyway, sorry, you built the meditation garden.
So it's a meditation garden. There's the labyrinth out there. I wanted to do something. You know how I talked about the ribbon earlier, and I said sometimes there's a ribbon in the tree. Where does that take us?
Yeah.
We have a kitchen in the center, and for me, it's like, how do I utilize this thing and get people from the community to come to the center, and how do we make it work? And so what we've created was this cooking program where we have chefs come in, local chefs, and we pair them with a dietitian that talks about nutritional, good nutrition when you're going through cancer. We get all the food provided by Organins as a donation.
That's so cool that they do that. I buy a lot of stuff from them, so it's really nice to hear that.
Jim Gannon, and before I even opened, it was a cold call. I had a meeting with him, and he was like, well, "We're in. How can we help?" And so we shop there, and we get all the food. They'll make a dish in front of everyone. Everyone samples it, and then we give them a bag of the raw ingredients to go home and replicate the meal. And to me, we do that monthly. And to me, that program is really unique and interesting and ticks all the boxes. And what that event ends up being, you're eating, but it's a night out. I can't, these people that have a compromised immune system, they're not going to the bars. They're not going to see jazz. Like, the cooking demo is a night out. So we make it a night out. And so there's a lot of those type things that are just incredible. We'll have practitioner and instructor appreciation nights, and my yoga person will meet this Reiki person, and they'll totally hit it off. And they'll come up with this idea of having this yoga Reiki event, and let's do that, and then they do that, and they get a bunch of people show up, and it's awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's pretty incredible.
What do you got? You got to be festering on something over there.
Yeah, I was actually wondering. You said you were in the entertainment business for a while.
I was for a long time.
Yeah. I guess it's a couple of questions that I have regarding that. What was it that you did, and do you think that helped you with what you're doing now, and how did it help you?
Yeah. Okay. I started off in marketing and PR, and my job was to promote the talent and the programming wherever I was focused. I had worked at an agency for a number of years. Then I worked at Entertainment Television. Then I had this, so I did proper PR and marketing for about a decade. Then I had this idea for a TV show, and I pitched it, and they bought it. So then I became an executive producer overnight, and I made this pilot. Never saw air, but I sold it 3 times.
That's crazy.
I'll say welcome to Hollywood. I consider myself a successful failure. Because who am I to make a show and sell it 3 times, but never be able to tell my parents what channel to watch it? You know what I mean? And I got paid all 3 times.
It's gonna get but you painted the painting.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, it's not like you got paid for a painting you didn't paint.
Yeah. And so I ended up from there. I ended up working at different production companies, and I ended up selling like about 13 different shows. Some made it, some didn't. My first series was on A&E in 2004. It was a magic show, and this is the beauty of Hollywood. I was in the driveway of this news anchor's house in the Valley, and I was helping my friend lay drywall in his house. And I had 2 magicians in New York at A&E pitching this fellow by the name of Rob Chernow. And I said, don't say anything. I'll talk from my phone, you know, in the driveway of this place. I'll set it up, and then you're just going to do 10 minutes of close-up magic and make his head spin. And that's how we're going to pitch this thing. And he did that. Or the 2 magicians, they were buddies that had never had real jobs, and they were close-up magicians. They did that. They ended up buying a 1-hour special and 8 episodes off of us. And so at 1 minute, I'm sort of quasi-unemployed in the driveway in the Valley hanging drywall. And the next minute, I'm in the mountains of Tandil in Argentina searching for a 1-armed magician named Rene Levon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's feast or famine. And then I ended up, I was with this... network called Reels Channel. I launched. I was one of the first 20 people hired, and now they're in like 65 million homes. But I launched Reels Channel. I was an executive producer and ran a couple shows. Then I wanted to move to New York with my wife, my girlfriend now, my wife, and we came to New York, and I worked for the Stern Show for 5 years, and ran original series and specials for the Howard Stern Show. So, you asked me what qualities. Like, I was in charge of the creative. I was in charge of putting the show together. I had to manage the budget. I had to create the pilot to sell this thing. I had to get people to say yes when all they wanted to say was no. I was up against, no one cares about you when you're not known, and so you have to scrap your way. So I was very scrappy. I still am. And then, if I can be a guy that walks into like the Stern Show where everyone's been there for 20 years, if you can walk in that room and hold your own, then there'll be no room that you can walk into and be terrified of. And so I've built up this amazing amount of confidence, and I've used it to my advantage, and I've used it to the advantage of helping others.
Yeah, confidence from being tested so many times, probably though.
Yeah, and
it's not like it's not blind confidence.
Mm-mm.
That's why when I was glad Gilmore asked that, because it's very evident that you've kind of amassed a lot of experience that now you're doing this.
It's so in such
you're like
a
Liam
random
Neeson.
way.
Yeah. In Taken, where he's just like, don't make me. I'm coming for you.
I will find you.
But like
I
a
will
charity.
find
Yeah, I will help you.
I'll be the Liam Neeson of Doylestown and Bucks County Charities.
Yeah, I mean, if you want that idea, you can have that one.
Thank
can be
you.
Liam Neeson of Bucks County. You
Yeah,
heard it here first on Bucks County. Liam Neeson of Bucks County.
there's for me, there's never been a no I haven't been able to get over, and and come hell or high water, I found a way to achieve things.
Yeah.
And so, it's like that's what I'm going off of. And my motivation, with entertainment and all that stuff was I had to eat, and I had a mortgage, and I had you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's kind of different because you said now I carry a different kind of weight, and I do because now people are literally relying on me.
Yeah.
So when we do a fundraiser and we make $30,000, and I can kind of take a sigh and go, all right, we're good, man.
Yeah, just got a nice one.
And then 3 days later, I'm back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
for
back.
sure.
I'm back.
What do you, I guess like my second to last question. I was going to ask one question, but I got two questions.
Yeah.
What, now that you're raising money and you've got some momentum behind you, you're doing it, half of a decade roughly. What has it become easier to solicit from like the big dog donations? Like, you guys got a car dealership. You have Thompson
organization. I mean, they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so like, what is it? I guess what do a partnership like that? What does that mean to you? Because does it get easier as you get them?
Yes. The answer is yes. And Thompson for me was very legitimizing because they were a big company and they went all in, and they've been all in, they've been with me. And I think people can have success, but the sustainability is what's really interesting to me. And we've sustained with each other, and we've kind of grown with each other. And, their business is their business, and they entrusted partnering with a quasi-unknown nonprofit with a guy who didn't have a ton of experience. And so we both kind of took this, well, I didn't take so much of a leap, but they did. And
you were promising that they would land on a step.
And the reality is they change all the lights. They host an event. We have an event there actually tomorrow night at 6:30. We're going to be, they change the arch pink, and we do a sign and shine where people can go and write on the wall, and they can write messages of inspiration, hope, and honor of people that have gone through or are going through breast cancer. I've got Nook Nook Music School going there and playing music for us, and I got some speakers. It's going to be a very poignant, nice event. But they also do my banners. They do so much. They give us raffle prizes. They host other events for us. They do so much for us that I feel like they're an extension of us in a way.
Yeah, it's really cool to drive past like John's lot and see all the lights. Yeah. The first time I was like, that's how I got introduced to the original name of the Pine to Pink.
Yeah.
Like, when we first came to Doylestown like 3 years ago, I was driving one night. I was like, why are all the lights changed colors? Yeah. And then it took us a couple of days to figure it out because we're investigators.
Right.
But
that's right.
We got to the bottom and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I started noticing like the dealerships and other lots. I'm like, this has got to be some sort of undertaking that's much bigger than what I thought it was.
Well, it is amazing how they have bought in and what they take time to do. Like their guys are there at 5 a.m. in bucket trucks, putting these gels on the lights and building the arch. And
I just thought they were LED lights that you could just program to be different colors. Didn't you? Yeah. That's actually filmed they're like tinting the lights.
They tint it and cut it and color it, and it's the Thompson Detail Center.
Shout out to Thompson Detail.
We drove by there last night.
With the detail center?
Yeah, well, through all of Bucks.
We did drive through Doylestown last night.
And then we were looking at it like, I wonder how they do that.
Yeah, we were literally. I was like, it's got to be LED.
Yeah.
That's how. And to answer your question more fully, it started off with me having to explain my story, what I wanted to do. It wasn't so much what I've done; it's what I want to do, and getting people to buy into that. And now, because of the exposure, and because I can drive all this awareness, and because I can, build off of the momentum, I get a lot of stuff incoming. I get a lot incoming, and that helps quite a bit, where I just have to vet it, and I have to make sure it stays within keeping of who we are, and then let it happen.
It just goes in the not Hooters pile.
The not Hooters, yeah.
So with a family like the Thompson dealerships, like how do you go about pitching that? Do you just email the company website, and next thing you know, you are pitching to somebody in the marketing department? Like, how does that even work?
Yeah, I mean, my whole career has been idea, find the person to bring it to, pitch it. And if I can, understand the MO of who the person is I'm pitching.
So figure out who the person you even want to pitch to.
Yeah, okay. And what company might be the best one, and who within that company, and if I and the domino effect where if I get this, well, won't I get like a lot more people because of that?
Okay.
And so there's all sorts of factors that are involved. But yeah, I mean, I try to, as a marketing and a content guy, I tend to lean on the marketing and content people to make first intro. And I'll say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I've done, this is who I want to talk to, and this is why. And, you know, those are emails and phone calls that quite often get ignored.
Yeah.
I don't take it personally. And I'll send out, 15 and get one. And I'm like, one's all I need. You know what I mean? And,
Okay.
and now I'm to the point where I don't want to have to bend an arm to try to get someone to work with me. I'd actually rather not do it if I have to try to convince you.
Yeah, the value added that you get partnering with your organization has already been proven.
Yeah.
The data's there.
Yeah, so it's like pitchy. Keith is kind of to bed, and now it's like stand on my work. And if and they see it, and if they know who we are and what we do, and they want to be a part of that, okay. If not, all right. I always say there's a ton of nonprofits out there that are amazing in our area, and go ahead and work with them or start your own. Which
Yeah. Good luck.
yeah, it's
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Yeah, and you really have to. Yeah, that's the easiest way to put it.
Anything worth doing is going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, that's
Anyone that talks about something like some quick idea that they've got, like people come up to us or Gilmar and I a lot about starting podcasts or YouTube channels.
Right.
Is the new one. Everybody wants a YouTube channel. It's like, good luck. Like it's worth it, but you just see the videos.
Right.
You don't see the hours of editing.
Right.
You don't see the videos that don't get uploaded because they just don't work.
Yeah.
Like, so I appreciate when you say like, yeah, you try it yourself. Like go shoot.
It's a very dad thing for me to say, but it's it is it's
It's a dad thing.
It's true. It's like people want that lightning in the bottle, and there's nothing that's going to substitute for your hard work, substitute for having a true passion and being real with what you want to do. That's why I never did so great working for other people if I didn't believe in what and I've curated my career in a way that I was like, I have to be behind it, I have to be into it and motivated, and then I will excel at it. So I know my pitfalls and I know my parameters, and so I've set myself up in a way to succeed. And
I think
thankfully
I think a lot of people like with the mental health, the way things are in the world, I think a lot of people are that way. They just stray away. Like human beings are naturally lazy people, and you very clearly have so much purpose.
Yeah,
and that's what gets you up and out of the bed, and like puts a smile on your face, even despite the fact that you're dealing with a very stressful clientele.
Yeah, it's
or
true.
a very stressful industry.
Yeah.
So, arguably, your purpose is the driving factor. Like the fact that you feel the purpose that you do from doing what you do every day is like a huge, I look at it as kind of like a nuclear reactor powering like a small city of things.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to sit down and speak to whoever was going on. We were interested to get as many people involved at the higher up of your organization.
Right.
We got you because it's very clear that, there's a lot that's going into your organization, but
Yeah.
you're just the motivation to get it going.
And I would say another
Humbly.
That's very nice of you to say, and I appreciate it. And I would say another kind of sick part of what has propelled me is I tend to get in over my head where I'm uncomfortable. I live in this uncomfortable space, and I like it. And I also I like the unknown. Like if I knew for the next 5 years these are the things I'm going to do exactly as I have planned, and if that was like a known quantity, that would freak me out more than saying I'm not 100% sure how this is going to come to fruition, but it's going to come to fruition. And so it might be a tad maniacal, but that also motivates me.
I think that's a healthy way to process
Probably.
the future.
Yeah.
I think people rely too much, even myself, I think everyone's guilty of expecting Christmas to be a certain way, and then it's not that way. And it's like, oh, Christmas sucks. Or like, oh, I want this car to be a certain thing, and it's not like, or I want this vacation to be a certain thing.
Right.
And when you don't, it's more fun to just blissfully go through life, kind of just being like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But having purpose at the same time.
Yeah.
I guess my last question, unless Gilmore has one, what do you do for fun? What do you do for
me?
Yeah, like are you into karate? What does Keith get into?
Right.
Mountain biking?
I am. I really enjoy mountain biking. And
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay. I was looking, I was like, he looks like he rides a mountain bike.
Yeah.
But like cautiously, I'm not like a guy that's going to blow through the woods and like, come close to getting a concussion. I'm more even when I ski, I'm like more cautious with it, but I enjoy the hell out of it. But mountain biking, I did a lot of that in Los Angeles. And so I enjoy mountain biking. I work out quite a bit. And I enjoy that. I tell people now I enjoy it more for my head than I do my body. But I really enjoy kind of getting in there. And like I was tired at the end of my day today. And every day is different, which is also, I don't know if we really talked about that, but I love that, you know what I mean? Like today I was being interviewed by CBS 3 at this woman Rose's house, who
other investigators.
You know what I mean?
The competition.
Competition, I was going to say that.
The ops.
Yeah. No one's heard of CBS, so don't worry about it.
We're coming for those letters.
And then I went to Kin, and I worked at Kin for a while, and then I was trying to put a filing cabinet together, and then bottom line is I had an event last night. I got an event tomorrow night. I had an event the night before that, and I was tired. And so I went in my garage and I lifted weights before I came here to kind of get myself going. So I enjoy that. And then really just I'm living vicariously through my kids. I got a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old, and it's all new still, and it's fun. I'm entering teen, and I have a girl, which I have a girl and a boy. So that's been great. And we really enjoy traveling and that sort of thing. Like we'll go to California and spend 3 weeks in California. And if I'm in the Redwoods in Santa Cruz, and I'm in the Redwoods in the morning and I'm at the beach in the afternoon, and I can be with my family, and I'm happy. I'm happy eating good food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were at Ardena last night, and I was like, I got to speak to a room of 50 people that I had their attention. I could tell them everything I wanted to tell them. I ate great food, and I raised money for my nonprofit. Like that to me was like,
that's a good day.
That was a good day, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have anything else to leave us on?
No, man. I think that was a good way to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the platform, and thank you for inviting me on. And when I have more fun stuff to share, I'll for sure do it. If you'll have me back, but yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, if we have him back, this is a good time.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna have him.
Definitely have you back. Yeah,
we have to keep investigating.
There's a lot more we need to know.
The way you said that was a little creepy.
Figure it out, dude.
But
I'm a belly up guy. I mean, I've told you everything. I got nothing.
I'm taking that. I'm a belly up guy.
Yeah, belly up guy.
Yeah, come at me. Belly up.
Pretty good.
That's good. Where do you get something like that? A belly up guy.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of it that pops into my head.
It's Hollywood.
I sell it with conviction, and people don't know whether it's a true statement or not. They just go with it. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, it checks out. Makes sense.
Yeah,
belly
dude.
up guy.
I can picture it. I'm like,
Just picture him belly up.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's like I just thought of a cat. When cats usually show you their belly, it means or dogs. Like, they're vulnerable.
Yeah,
so
they're comfortable with you, and they're not, it's all hanging out.
yeah. So that's how I saw it.
That's how I handle sketchy dogs. Like Cesar Millan has it all wrong. He's going in there for like the bite. I'm like, just lay upside down. The dog will be cool.
Yeah, dude.
Coming for a snuggle.
Yeah, he'll hug you quick.
But there you go.
There you
Close
go.
it on that. Close it on the hug. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks,
I
guys.
appreciate
All
it.
right.
This is Andrew, Keith, Gilmar, and Rambo somewhere on the floor. No Prisoners podcast, investigating what needs to be investigated in and around Bucks County. And we're the best at it.
Yes, sir.
So catch us. This podcast will come out after our last event for the year, but catch us in January, last Wednesday of the month, 86 West, happy hour, 4 to 6 p.m.